Okay, now this is a review and a better explanation of the section 6:14 and 6:13. All right, the key that I need to stress is that exponential graphs are written in some form of f of x, which is y, equals some value a times a base number to the x power. Okay, now do you have notes? I want you to take notes. This is important. Okay? So what will happen, this a is the original value when x is 0. So at the start, because if the time is 0, b to the 0 power is 1, 1 times a will give you the amount you started. Yes? Yes, you can. Okay. Okay. All right. Now, second thing that you have to know, that for a graph of an exponential function, because 0, 1 is always going to be a point on the graph, provided that a is 1, right? That it's going to go through this point, and then this side, the negative side of the x, will be a fraction, and the positive side will eventually take off into positive infinity. Okay, because it becomes a power. Okay, so that's the thing. That's the first thing you need to know. Now, the question that we're going to get into is how far apart is the value. It depends on the base, because what happens if I increase x from 2 to 3? I'm going to add one more b. Okay, that's this one over here. Okay? In fact, the relationship that was in the book is we had f5, which is the function when x is 5, and we wanted to compare it to the function when x was 2. Well, the function when f is 5 is a times b, 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 b. 5 of them. Okay? Now, what about f of 2? Its function is a, but only b times b. So when you cancel out the common factors, we find that if the value of x is increased by 3, it's the same as b to the third power. Okay? Now, on the problems that we had in the textbook, that's the only way you could attack the problem, because all they gave you was 2 values of that exponential graph. Okay? So what you had to do is that you had to set up a ratio, a fraction, you had to divide them, and when you divided them, whatever this distance was, it became the number of base numbers that were still left in the fraction after you divided. And so this would end up, whatever that value is, would have been a cube. So if I wanted to find b, how do you find b if I've got this? You take the cube root of whatever that number was. That make sense? Yeah. All right, so if I want to find the value of the base number, right, which is back here, if I want to find that, if I have this, what do I do? Take the cube root. Say that. Take the cube root. Okay, suppose this had been 2 and 4. How far apart is that? 1. That means whatever that is would have been b to the first. That's what I want. But suppose this had been 2 and 3. 5 and 3. 5 and 3 is how far apart? 2. That would have made this b squared, and I would have taken that and divided it by the square root of it to be able to find the value of b. That is what problem 6:13 was all about. Okay? All right, so now let's look at one. Okay, now I set this up a little different. This is for teaching. But all right, this is on page 299. This is problem 1. Okay? They give us f5 and they gave us f2. So the only thing we can do is set up a fraction, a division problem. And when I did that, I ended up with 1.5. That is 54 divided by 36. But how far apart is this? How far apart? 3. So this number is the cube of b. So to get b, I have to take the cube root. Now, if I have this, which is 5, I can go up to 8, because that's 3 more, right? By taking 1.5 and multiplying it by my 54, and that's where the 81 comes from. And I could go up 3 more by multiplying that by another 1.5, because that's b cubed, and that would take me up to 21.5. That was what you had to do in problem 1. Does that make sense? Not as hard as what I thought it was. Okay? Now, so that's how that, and then if you wanted to go down, right? If I'm at 5, and I want to go down 3, I'll be at 2. Well, if I take the 54 and I divide it by 1.5, I do end up with 36. And if I divide it by another 1.5, I end up with 24. And the calculator can find that. Okay, all right, now that's the skill in 613. Now let's talk about 614. Same information. Because b cubed was 1.5, then I know that b is the cube root of 1.5. Whatever that is, the calculator tells us. Okay, so here's my equation. A times b to the x. Because I have 2 over here, which is 36, I know that 36 and this b are related. Right? And so 36 is equal to a times the cube root, which is b, times the cube root, which is b, because there's only 2 of them. And when you solve for a, you end up at 24.47. And so that's the value of a, and therefore there's my equation of that graph given only those 2 points. Now that's pretty hairy. That's pretty hairy, but that's algebra 2. Right? It's supposed to be hairy. Okay, so what do we do? The first thing is to find b, we had to know how far apart the x's were. That, by the way, that's what the word abscissa means here. Abscissa is the value of x. Ordinate is the value of y. Okay, so because I was 3 apart, I knew this was b squared. That helps me go 3 up or 3 down by multiplying or dividing. But to get the value of b for the equation, I have to take the cube root. And then to find a, because I know that this was true, then I can just do the division and find a. All right, does that make sense? Question? I know I'm really barreling through, but okay, now let's look at another one. All right, let's see if we can put this into practice in your mind. Okay, 5.3 to 5.1, how far apart? 2. What does that mean? That when I divide, I get the b squared. So therefore, b is going to be the square root of 0.4. Okay, and the square root of 0.4 is not 2, because this is the square root of 0.40. Okay, so be careful with that. All right, now, so if I'm at 3, how do I go up to 5? I take the 20 and I multiply by 0.4, and I get 8. And then if I take that number and multiply it by another 0.4, I'll get 32 or 3.2. And I can do the same thing going down. I can take this number, divide it by 0.4, and I end up with 50. Divide that by 0.4, and I'll be at -1. But that all works. Okay? Now, the square root of 0.4 is approximately 0.63. Okay, it's not 7, because 7 times 7 is 49. This is 0.40. All right? Okay, so, but we can go back to here to find the equation. We know that b squared was this, so b is the square root of. So, I'm given 1. What does that mean? It means f of x is a times b to the first power. Well, that's going to be fast, isn't it? Right? And so that becomes 50 equals a times square root of 0.4, and you divide it, and you find that the value of b is 79.6, and so the value of a is 79.6. So a times the square root of that to the x power is the equation. Okay? Now, again, this is algebra 2. It's supposed to be complex, but it's also systematic. Okay, what's the key? The key is when you have these two things, you know b to what power that value is going to be when you divide. That's the key. And then, once you do that, you can find the B. If you be right. If you be wrong, it won't work. Okay? All right? Okay. All right, so, questions? Make more sense?
Yes.
Now, you may want to go back and do a couple of those even problems in section 613 and 614. The 614 is the word problems. This is the whole key. They give you the start, and then they give you another value, like 2 years ahead, 3 years ahead, 1 year ahead. And that tells you what happens on that division, whether or not this is the, whether you got to use a square, or square root, or a cube root. Okay? All right? Okay, now we can turn that off, and we're going to move into section number 2. Is that off now?
No.
Okay.
I don't know.
Okay, now, thank you for paying attention. Did that help a little bit?
Yes.
Okay, good.